So this is a drone, as many of you have seen. This is a common drone that's made by a very popular company, but it's one of the quadcopter types. You'll see some out there that have 6 to 8 propellers out there, as well as the fixed wings. But this is one that can do probably 20 to 40 acres in one flight, depending upon your altitude of your flight and what kind of resolution you want to have of the image. So basically right now with about 150 foot altitude flight, we can get resolution for each pixel being about a ½ inch. So that's pretty good resolution. You can zoom in on the photo, and at least in corn, you can do some stand counts that way. Beans are a little tougher, but I know a lot of industry partners are working on automating that process. So here at the farm, at the research farm, Ewing Demonstration Center, we try to fly this about every 10 to 14 days. I'm just capturing RGB, red, green, blue imaging right now that we can then stitch together, and it allows us to get an aerial view of all our different plots and trials, which we're not pulling data directly from those photos, but they definitely inform our trials and the ability to cull data at the end of the year. So I was talking about an example earlier where last year we have, well, every year we have an N rate trial that we do that feeds into the MRT N calculator, the maximum return to N calculator. And last year we had some data that wasn't looking right. One of the reps was just way off of the other two for certain treatments. So we were able to look at that imaging and tell, okay, deer got into those plots, and we were able to explain why the data was off rather than just say, well, I guess I don't know, and having that extra variability in the data. So there are some free analysis software that you could use to stitch together images, and I found that it works pretty well for small image sets, so maybe 100 or so or less. But here, for each 20-acre field, we're getting about 370 images that are being stitched together. So I have had some trouble with some of those free software to get good stitching without any distortion in the image or blank spots in the image. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I do program flights over the farm. So that means that it's flying the same pattern every time, and it's a serpentine pattern across the farm. So that way the images overlay very well, and it just makes it easy that you can push a couple buttons and let it go, and you watch the monitor, but other than that, you don't have to be manually flying it and trying to take the images at the same time. So this maintains your altitude, heading, and takes images automatically for you. So now we should hopefully go. I'm going to click this button and starting a pre-flight checklist. Looks like everything is good to go. Start the flight. I just took off and came back to home right there. I didn't do the full flight, but it kind of gives you the idea. Now normally that'll take off, go to starting point, and start a serpentine pattern. It takes about 15 minutes for us to do 20 acres at 150 feet altitude. That's about the life of your battery. So you're on these types of drones, you have about a 15 to 20 minute battery life depending on wind speed and that type of thing. So yeah, that's it for the drone.